What is going on, Pats Nation? It's your boy Colby with Patriots Global back here with another video, and today we are going to be breaking down day one of the New England Patriots organized team activities, or also known as OTAs. And you guys really liked when we broke down rookie minicamp with the pictures included, so yet again, we're going to kick it old school Patriots Global and do a voiceover provided by pictures from today's practice. Make sure you guys let me know in the comment section below too, what type of videos do you prefer? Do you prefer these types of videos where they're voiceovers with photos from the day, or do you prefer the type where I'm on camera? Make sure you guys let me know. But yes, today was the next phase in the offseason with OTAs. Big thing to remember, of course, is that these are optional to attend. They are not mandatory. Rookie minicamp, that's going to be mandatory. The Patriots 3-day minicamp in June, that is going to be mandatory for all players. Training camp, mandatory for all players. OTAs, those are optional, and that's why a lot of times you don't see these veteran players attending because they're choosing to train elsewhere. Now, lucky enough for us, day one was open to the media. I believe the next availability is going to be next week. I actually thought next week was the first day open to the media, so I was a little surprised when we got news today. So just keep in mind, of course, that the team is going to continue to practice, but media availability, I believe, is not again until next week. And one thing I will say too before we break this down is that although these OTAs are optional, I would say that more than ever, especially for the state that the New England Patriots are in, it is vital for these players to be here. So if you're consistently not going to show up to practice and it's not injury related, that is going to be something to take away. Whether you're a veteran or you're a rookie, this is a new state of the New England Patriots. I mean, these are new quarterbacks. This is a new offensive coordinator, a new head coach, a new defensive coordinator, entirely new coaching staff on the offensive side of the ball with new coaching staff on special teams and the defensive side of the ball. You should be getting into practice as much as possible, building relationships, chemistry, and continuity with these players that will translate onto the field for this upcoming season and will determine who gets roster spots and who doesn't. And that brings us right into the absences from today. So first off, we have Kendrick Bourne, Zuri Henry, Cole Strange, Matthew Judon, Anthony Jennings, Josh Uche, Devon Godchow, and Jelani Tavai. Now, a couple of these definitely have some takeaways to them. As for Kendrick Bourne, JaVon Baker kind of said this, I believe it was before practice, either before or after practice, basically saying that Kendrick Bourne will not be involved with any of their spring activities because he is still rehabbing from the season-ending injury that he suffered this past season in 2023. Obviously, that makes a ton of sense. It's the same instance for Cole Strange. We did get a little bit of an update on Cole Strange, too, in terms of his injury problem, and it's definitely broad. JaVon Baker gave a very, very broad statement saying, you could say that Cole, and this is a quote, JaVon Baker saying, you could say he's day to day, or you can even take it, saying he's week to week or month to month, which to me sounds like they truly have no idea when Cole Strange is going to return. And this is a guy that we've talked about before who needs to get back to practice because with this being a new coaching staff, especially on the offensive line, everybody's kind of starting fresh with their jobs and who's playing where, and Cole Strange could be on the outside looking in. As for Zuri Henry, UDFA, he was a guy we also didn't see during media availability during rookie minicamp. Not too sure what's going on with him, whether he's released or whether he's dealing with injury problems. That is definitely something to keep an eye on. And then really the last notable name on here for me is going to be Matthew Judon. Now, Matthew Judon, of course, did deal with a season-ending injury early on, so his absence could be related to that. But what I think this is more so related to is going to be the fact that he does not currently have a revised contract. Matthew Judon is going to be in contract year, and he's making very, very minimal money. This is going to be like the same instance it was around this time last year, where he didn't hold out of practice, but he held in practice, which essentially means that he was there, but he wasn't participating. Honestly, I think it's going to be the same instance where until Matthew Judon gets that new contract, we're not actually going to see him practice, whether he's at practice or not. As for players that were limited, we only have one with Christian Gonzalez. Now, obviously, not surprising whatsoever that Christian Gonzalez at this point in the offseason is not a full go as he still rehabs his season-ending injury that he suffered, I believe it was in week 5. Nonetheless, though, still good to see him out there. Overall, today was a no-contact practice. It was shorts, it was shells. It wasn't very competitive. I mean, when I say that this is the next phase in football, it's a very, very light next phase of football. So far, it seems like JaVon Baker was definitely taking a light approach to camp so far to try to ease everybody back into it rather than starting off guns a-blazing. Overall, take this for what you will, but it was said that the Patriots defense overall won the day and that the offense didn't generate a ton of production outside of the short passing game. I wouldn't worry about that too much just yet. If we're getting to the end of training camp and roster cutdowns and that's still occurring, then it's time to maybe start panicking a little bit, but this is day one of OTAs. The offense is still trying to find its footing overall. So as for the quarterbacks, for 11-on-11s, Jacoby Brissett was 5 for 6, Bailey Zappi was 1 for 1, and Drake Maye was 2 for 3. In 7-on-7s, Jacoby Brissett was 4 for 8, Bailey Zappi was 2 for 4, Maye was 4 for 4, and Joe Milton was also 4 for 4. In overall team drills, the order for quarterbacks surprisingly went Jacoby Brissett, Bailey Zappi, Drake Maye, and then Joe Milton. It was also said by JaVon Baker that this team is going to want to roll with 3 quarterbacks, not just for the upcoming season, but they're going to want to roll with 3 quarterbacks this offseason. As we all know, the Patriots currently have 4 quarterbacks on this active roster, which means in the coming weeks, within the next, month or two, leading up to training camp, one of these quarterbacks is not going to be on the roster. You obviously know that Drake Maye is going to be on the roster, Jacoby Brissett's going to be on the roster, so it looks like it's either going to come down to a Bailey Zappi trade or release or a Joe Milton release. And overall, I personally am not a big fan of Bailey Zappi getting significantly more reps in practice than Drake Maye. Now, of course, again, we still need to see consistent practices. Is this something that is, happening each and every single practice, or was this just something they specifically did today? Because the next media availability that we get for OTAs, we could hear that Drake Maye was the second quarterback behind Jacoby Brissett, but I think that's something that should be consistently occurring because somebody like Drake Maye, who you just used the 3rd overall pick on, he needs a ton of work. He needs a ton of reps. Whether he's going to be the starting quarterback or not, you have to imagine that at some point this season, the Patriots are likely to throw him in as their starting quarterback. And with the amount of help he needs mechanically, he should be getting, the second most snaps behind Jacoby. Overall, there was said to be a larger emphasis on the passing game today with a lot of play action specifically. There was a lot of work on the footwork for the quarterbacks today, which obviously makes a ton of sense too. I mean, you need to drill in that footwork with Drake Maye. That's his biggest concern. That's why, he has these accuracy concerns just because the lower half of his body struggles. And we knew that coming out of college, but it's also the same thing for Joe Milton. Overall, Jacoby Brissett was the most consistent quarterback, which should surprise absolutely nobody. Drake Maye did throw some good balls down the field, but had some issues here and there with kind of that short to intermediate stuff. Ironically, it was the same situation for Joe Milton. But it was said that in 7-on-7s, both Drake Maye and Joe Milton threw a nice ball on a comeback route. So from what's being said so far, it sounds like Drake Maye and Joe Milton are kind of in the same realm of where they're succeeding and where they're struggling. Moving on to running backs, nothing was said about Ramondre Stevenson, but offseason addition Antonio Gibson was mixed in a healthy amount in his first practice with the Patriots. It was said that his athleticism stands out significantly, even in an OTA setting. It was also said that it looks like he is somebody that really, really fits Alex Van Pelt's offensive system, and he's definitely somebody that you should expect to be in the mix quite a bit this upcoming season. Moving on to wide receivers, only one wide receiver suffered from a drop today, and that was KJ Osborne, another offseason addition. Jalen Polk and JaVon Baker are primarily repping with the rookie quarterbacks. Polk got a few reps with the ones, though. And I think that's also going to be another storyline to watch is how do the Patriots view these rookie wide receivers in Jalen Polk and JaVon Baker? Because, if they're rolling, one guy's rolling with the ones and one guy's rolling with the scout team or the second team, that probably dictates just how many snaps they're going to get and how kind of involved with the offense they're going to be in year one. Overall, it was said that KJ Osborne and Tyquan Thornton saw the most work as the outside wide receivers today. Kind of surprised me. I would honestly like to see JaVon Baker and even Jalen Polk working as outside receivers. I think that KJ Osborne is a guy that can play inside and outside, but he kind of serves as that rover role, that kind of Kendrick Bourne role where he can play inside and outside, but you get the best out of him by playing him in both spots. It was said that Kayshon Boutte also got into the mix a little bit, even though there are still question marks on what's going to happen if he's going to get suspended with his gambling problem, but he did have a catch on a deep ball today. The wide receivers as a whole were said that they didn't get the best showing overall. It looks like they are going to be a big work in progress, both in terms of getting the new guys implemented, getting the rookies implemented to running at the NFL level, and just everybody finding their new footing. It was said that the receivers just aren't getting open consistently enough, but honestly, take that as you will. This was a slow practice of OTAs. They weren't running, full speed. It wasn't super competitive, so I'm not really sure how much you can take away with wide receivers not getting open when you're not fully going through it. There was no words on the tight ends, but we do know that newly signed offseason addition Austin Hooper was there with Hunter Henry. We do have some news on the offensive line. The first team offensive line today was Chuks Okorafor at left tackle, Sidy Sow at left guard, David Andrews at center, Nick Leverett, another offseason addition at right guard, and Michael Onwenu at right tackle. Little bit surprised that Layden Robinson wasn't in the mix as a starting guard just because that kind of seems like it's a real possibility, but also a little bit surprised that Sidy Sow was moved from right guard to left guard in order to place Leverett over as right guard. Just because from what's been said, if Layden Robinson does start for the Patriots, he'll start for them as a left guard, and Sidy Sow would stay at right guard. So, look, if they want continuity, then the best continuity for the offensive line would be to keep Sidy Sow at right guard and then put either Layden Robinson or Nick Leverett over on the left side. Overall, though, I wouldn't look too much into what the first-team offensive line was because there was a lot of combinations along the offensive line today. Caden Wallace, again, was working at left tackle. He and Vidarian Lowe apparently were going back and forth, coming in for Chuks Okorafor, who very clearly was the full-time starter at left tackle. In a little bit of surprising offensive line news, though, former 6th-round pick and second-year guard Antonio Mafi is working at center today. That's really interesting. I mean, obviously, David Andrews just signed that 2-year contract extension, which was surprising within itself, but where is Jake Andrews? We've heard absolutely nothing about Jake Andrews. He didn't really get much playing time in training camp or the offseason programs or even the preseason or regular season last year. He was a guy you drafted in the 4th round to replace David Andrews in the future. What is his role looking like on this team, both currently and for the future? Now, despite the defense supposedly winning the day, we got pretty much absolutely no news on those guys. That's obviously not really all that surprising when you can't really have too many takeaways from, the linebackers or the defensive line, and the corners can't really have contact. So, what are you really going to say about those guys? But we do have a little bit of news in terms of safeties. Apparently, Kyle Duggar had a pass breakup, but then we also got nothing in terms of special teams. So really, all of the takeaways had to do with the offense specifically. I think that you kind of hope that as each week, each practice continues, it ramps up a little bit more and we start to get more and more competitive. One thing I will add too before we end today's video is that there was a lot of mic'd up of Drake Maye and JaVon Baker, and just from what the media is saying about Drake Maye, really sounds like he is completely divulging himself into this offense, and honestly, he seems like a true leader. I mean, he's going up to guys, he's taking charge, he's telling them what to do. Even with Jacoby Brissett, even when Drake Maye is not getting these opportunities and he's not getting these reps, he's still on the sideline taking mental notes, and he's talking to Jacoby Brissett constantly, trying to learn new things. So not just from what the media said, but even from my own perspective, from the clips and the photos that we're getting from the practices so far this offseason, it really seems like Drake Maye is more of a leader than Mac Jones ever was here in New England. But what are your guys' thoughts on these takeaways from day one of OTAs? Let me know in the comment section below. Remember to leave a big like on this video, and of course, subscribe to the channel for all of your New England Patriots news. Appreciate you all so much for watching, and of course, never forget, go Pats.